In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up proper crops and bleeds in Illustrator CC 2017, which has some new features. When you open up the program, go to File and select New. This will bring up a new document window that you can see gives you some instant options that you didn't previously have in earlier versions of Illustrator. Now there are instant artboard options for mobile, web, print, film and video, and art and illustration. For our purposes at TPSi, you'll be choosing a print option. You can either choose one of the ready-made options or simply come over to the right side of this panel and start filling it out the way you normally would. You'll name your file, you'll set your width and height, what units of measurements you prefer, and so on. Now, one of the most crucial things you need to do if you're submitting a file to us that either has photos or fields of color that are going to visually extend off the edge of your page is to set what's called a bleed. And I'll explain more about what exactly that is here in a minute. At TPSi, we generally only require 1/8 of an inch, here designated as a 0.125. You can type in that amount or use the presets by clicking on one of these arrows, and make sure you click on this link to the right to apply it to all of the settings. It's important that you have a bleed line on all sides of your artboard. Under color mode, it's important that you set it to CMYK. Now you'll also notice down here at the bottom of this panel it says More Settings. Now go ahead and click on More Settings. Now if you've already filled out all the fields in the new panel, they'll carry over to this window, so there's no need to fill anything out. However, for the purpose of print, I want you to go down and look at this Advanced section and take a look at raster effects. If you do a lot of graphics for the web or mobile devices, you may have this usually set to screen or medium. You need to make sure it's set at high, which is 300 ppi. Go ahead and select Create Document. Now you should see a red line around your artboard. This is the designated bleed area. So let's say you have a field of color that you want to extend to the edge of a design. I'm going to quickly create a rectangle that will represent a field of color or a photo that you want to extend to the edge of your design. You need to make sure that it extends at least to this red line. And let's say you have some other shape element in your design that you also want to extend off the page. This circle will extend past the bleed area, and it's fine if it goes past it because when we save this to a PDF, any artwork will get cut off and it will only show to the bleed line. Bleeds and crop marks are important for the post-production process because they ensure that no sliver of underlying color of your paper is left around the edges once your design's been trimmed. When a design goes back to post-production to be trimmed, there's something you need to be aware of, and that's cutting tolerance. Cutting tolerance is the slight variations that occur when a printing project is cut down to size, which is why at TPSi we ask for at least 1/8 of an inch. When you finish your design, you can then save it as a PDF, and this is where you'll apply some crop marks. Crop marks show our post-production staff where they need to cut the substrate in order to get the finished size of your project. For some reason, Adobe uses the terms either as crop or trim marks under the printer's marks or marks section. In Illustrator, it's listed as trim marks, and in InDesign, it will be listed as crop marks. These terms are used interchangeably. In Illustrator and InDesign, there's no need to have to manually create your crop marks. It's easier just to let the programs do it. This way you know they're level from corner to corner and they're perfectly aligned. After you've saved your design as an Illustrator file, go to File, Save As, and you'll see that you have the option of saving it as a PDF, which is our preferred method of receiving files at TPSi. Once the Save Adobe PDF window opens up, we want you to change the default settings. In this preset drop-down menu, choose Press Quality. Under Standard, change it to PDF X4 2010, and you'll see that the compatibility field will automatically update to Acrobat 7 1.6 or higher. This setting gives the richest color output on our press, and it also supports all transparencies. Under Options, if you have the Preserve Illustrator editing capabilities turned on, please turn that off. It will unnecessarily bloat the size of your PDF. Now go to the Marks and Bleeds section. At TPSi, we only need the trim marks selected under the Printer's Marks section. We don't need registration marks or color bars. If you want to leave page information checked, that's fine, especially if you're doing several press proofs and you want to keep them organized on which page is which. Under Bleeds, check the Use Document Bleed settings. You'll see this area turn gray. Now you can save your PDF, and you should see your PDF open up. I'm using Adobe Acrobat DC. If you set up the proper crops and bleeds, you'll see them displayed in your PDF. The blue line is the designated bleed boundary. If you have a bleed from a photo or color field, it needs to extend to this line. The green line represents the edge of your substrate. So every file you send us needs trim marks and bleed marks if your design utilizes a bleed area. Once you see these in place, your file is ready for us to print.